This segment is brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Feels like home. All right, welcome back. We have a weather update. We have a government update. And joining us now, the parish president of Lafourche Parish, Mr. Archie Chaisson. Good to see you, Mr. Parish President.
Good to see you too, Mark. Glad to be on with you.
Yeah, we have some news that came down today officially, and we'll talk about what's going to become the executive director of the Office of Louisiana Highway Construction. We'll congratulate you early, but we'll come back to that because we have some weather coming up on Lafourche, Grand Isle, and all these areas right now. And if I could just show the audience, if you could see, we've been pretty lucky in Terrebonne Parish. They have some circulation. And this has been one quirky storm with variable circulations, or various circulations all around. Watch this explosion right under Terrebonne Parish that goes by. But look what's coming Lafourche and Grand Isle's way. So I'm going to ask the parish president right now to wear the parish president's hat. He's going to do that for a few more weeks. And Archie, tell us what's going on in Lafourche and how are y'all preparing right now?
Yeah, Martin, it seems we always get the quirky storms. I don't know if we've ever had a hurricane or a tropical weather event.
We get the schizophrenic storms.
No doubt. But look, as I mentioned yesterday when I was talking to Harry, hurricane season for us really isn't just a day on the map, right? It's not something that we start preparing for on June 1st when we know that day hits. It's something that we work around all year long to make sure that our outfall canals are clean, that our drainage system is clean. Now, look, we've had crews out for a couple of days knowing this was coming, looking at a few trouble spots that people report because people send stuff up when this sort of weather event starts to pop up, knowing that we're going to get it, hopefully not too big of an intense amount of rainfall, but something that has the potential to be some pretty heavy rain. But we've been cleaning catch basins, looking at culverts and ditches and picking up the most obvious things that we can see or people are calling in. All of our sandbag sites for self-fill load opened at 1 o'clock this afternoon, as well as all 6 of our field offices are open. For any elderly or disabled people that can't fill those sandbags themselves, we'll load up to 25 sandbags per resident into the back of your car, your truck for you to close up any holes that you may think you may have trouble with. But overall, I mean, look, all 157 pumps are operational. The ones that we do have a couple of issues with, we've brought out portable pumping capacity to make sure that we can still handle that amount of water. Our system's rated for an inch like that first hour, and then half an inch every hour thereafter. So you're looking at the weather slides from this afternoon. We had a call at 3 o'clock with the weather service and GOSEP and our partners up in Baton Rouge. And it just seems like it's just going to be some waves of intense rainfall, not anything that we don't see or haven't seen over the period of the last couple of weeks, right? For us, luckily, we don't have, a whole lot of downstream issues. So the potential for extreme flooding like you saw in Texas and North Carolina for us really isn't there, right? Depending on how heavy the rain falls, there's a potential for some street flooding, those ditches spilling out their banks in your neighborhoods. But as the pumps continue to circulate water, as the rainfall trains and stops, overall we should catch up. I'm not too worried that we're going to see any widespread flooding or anything like that over the course of the next several days. Yeah,
in Terrebonne Parish, we have sort of a bipolar situation if we're going to talk about schizophrenia storms and bipolar storms. But Jason, if you bring up the map again, you can see they got Terrebonne Parish split almost right in half with the amount of rainfall. So which tells me, and we could come back to the parish president, that they are, and it looks like from this system that circulation south of Lafourche and Terrebonne was really this storm trying to stay alive. Whatever broke off is trying to create some spin, but I would assume it's going to move past us and then start moving up, maybe around Lafayette and all. That remains to be seen. But so far, we've dodged some bullets, but I've seen 2 or 3 circulations. Have y'all seen the same?
Yeah, we saw some graphics on the map yesterday. There was a big cluster of thunderstorms south of the coast that looks like it was starting to wrap. But while they said the actual disturbance itself was still over the interior of Florida, that came off this morning. It looked like it had sped up. They weren't expecting, I think, it to come off in the early hours this morning. I thought it was going to be a little bit later. But then it shredded apart, and then it seems to want to spin up in a couple of different directions. So again, very weird storm. Again, not something that we're I guess not used to over the course of the last 5.5 years or 6 years. But It's something that, again, nothing that I don't think we're not going to be able to handle from a drainage infrastructure or emergency response standpoint in how we do things.
Yeah, Jay, we're going to just keep this segment going because I'm going to just let the audience know that we're going to continue to roll this on Facebook and YouTube because it changes too much. So we're going to keep it rolling on there. But let me ask you, Archie, there's several explosions going on thunderstorm-wise all around you. I want to sort of calm the people down because a lot of people are still coming up to me, and even at lunch they were coming up and going, how bad is it going to be? I'm saying, y'all, what we're going to experience, you experience on a typical summer day when a big thunder boomer comes up around, these may be quicker moving past people. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think when you look at how the system came off of the coast of Florida a whole lot earlier than the Weather Service was predicting, and even what they told us yesterday afternoon on that 3 o'clock call, we got up this morning and already drifted past Apalachicola. So it was a little bit quicker of a storm, and I think that's going to help us, right? It's not going to give it enough time to just kind of churn in that warm water between Mobile and us and really start to strengthen. Again, going to be some heavy thunderstorms probably late tonight into tomorrow morning, and then kind of wrap it up as we get into Friday and into Saturday, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and those thunderstorms we see blossoming by Grand Island, Lafourche, and Terrebonne and St. Mary maybe just be the frontal zone and all the spinoffs of the main circulation. Boy, but it sure looks like it's circulating right below it. It plays tricks on you. I've never quite seen one like this before, but they're all different. We see them all different. I just hit the stick. It's trying to get into shot right there. Let's switch gears because I want to ask you about this big news today. Just to let the audience know, today Governor Jeff Landry announced that the man you see right here on the screen on TV, Archie Chaisson III, as the executive director of the Office of Louisiana Highway Construction. And the Office of Louisiana Highway Construction is tasked with privatizing functions as well as reimagining transportation project delivery. Let me ask you something. We all know your qualifications. We all know your capabilities. So is this the governor's way of bringing in somebody that can refine, sort of hold people to task, for lack of a better word, a Doge kind of person that can come in and streamline budgets and make it happen?
I think part of that's the case, Martin. When you look at what Representative Chairman Bourriaque did in that bill, it's looking at the entire non-federal highway system across Louisiana. So, a little over 5,000 miles of roadway is going to initially be encompassed inside this office, along with a few other functions that I think we're gonna tackle once we get in there. But as DOTD, and we know it from being in local government, right, has some flaws. Glenn Leday, who's the new secretary of DOTD, is also a Thibodeau guy from Lafourche Parish, which is something we've talked about over the last month or so since his appointment into that position. But it's going to be working hand in hand with DOTD. The one good thing about this office, and you noted it, and the governor noted it when he signed the DOTD reform bills a few weeks ago, is this new office is going to be housed inside the Division of Administration and not bound by the typical DOTD processes, right? And the things that lag projects and the things that take years and years to develop a design for a roadway or a fix for a bridge or whatever the case may be. And this office is going to use not only local governments, and how we reimagine how we cut grass and do all the fun stuff along state routes and dig ditches and make sure water's draining off of our state highways, but also how we fix those roads, how we fix those bridges, and using those local governments that may want to do that in-house while this office would fund it, are using public-private partnerships with private engineers and private contractors to speed that process up. So we're getting delivery of road projects in 120 days that are going to bid versus 5 and 6 years. And I really think that's the governor's ultimate goal, is to put more hands in more tools in the toolbox for the locals while providing some additional funding, but also giving an avenue for locals to come to a new state agency and saying, hey, we have these road issues, we have these impediments, let's knock them down, let's go get some stuff done.
Yeah, this is new territory because, one of the biggest gripes here in the area is always roads and bridges. Of course, we know the fate of that, and people get confused as to what's local and what's state. You get to come in and know what's local and what's state and work with the DOTD director that knows what's local and what's state. So, it's just so much frustration among the community. But this is going to be a way to get people excited about it and to see asphalt being put down and roads being cleaned up and roads being constructed. So it's a challenge, but I think you like challenges, don't you?
I do, Martin, and that was what was really intriguing. The governor, the first time the governor called, I told him no. The second time the governor called, I said, well, let's talk. And then when he called the third time, I ultimately said yes. So this is something that has been several weeks in the making. It was a lot of thought, a lot of prayer with family and friends and a few close colleagues to say, hey, is this something I needed to do, or the want is there, right? To continue to do public service, to continue to make an impact about the way we do things across the state of Louisiana has always driven me, right? It's why I ended up in the chair that I'm sitting in. But leaving the term early was really hard for me. Leaving the people here in government, I don't say leaving the people of Lafourche, because I'm not moving to Baton Rouge. I'm driving back here every night to lay my head on a pillow. So it's still going to be a good thing. But I've always told people the last several months, the conversation keeps happening about, hey, where are you headed next, right? As a term limited elected official, that's the question we get asked a lot. And my standard answer has been that God will put me where God wants to put me and where I need to be to continue to serve him and how things need to happen. And when the governor called, it was something that I took as a sign that this was a step that needed to be taken. So, we're leaving on a high note. We've done a lot of great things across Lafourche, made it through COVID, all the storms, all the weird things that have happened, made changes to our tax structure that are impacting our community in some good ways, driving economic investment here in the parish. And I also know that, we're leaving it in good hands. The 327 men and women who walk across Lafourche Parish and work across the departments are probably the best team, and I would put them across any team in the country, and they would shine. And Mitch Ogeron, who's going to be taking over as the parish president per our charter, is a fabulous individual and someone who 6 years ago when we had the conversation about whether or not he wanted to come work in government, I did it because I knew he could do it and I knew I could trust him. And he's gonna surround himself with a couple of key people that he's gonna have to appoint, and a parish administrator who's gonna have to take his spot. And they're gonna do some really good things and continue to carry their torch, albeit in their own way, but continue to carry that torch of parish government that we've set and continue to make Lafourche Parish a place people want to live, work, and play.
Yeah, and I know you're sort of tied at the hip with people in Lafourche Parish, and I agree with you. Mitch is highly qualified. He can do a great job. But being the parish president, people always ask me, Mark, which job you think is one of the toughest jobs around? I said, parish president. They get calls when the garbage isn't picked up. They get calls when the ditches don't work right. They get calls on everything. Cats caught in a tree, call the parish president. Well, you become accustomed to that stress and that hands-on and going to the people. Now you're going to Baton Rouge, and I don't know how to do this, more of a bureaucratic thing. You're right under the governor. He's going to be picking up the phone. Archie, can we do this? Can we do that? Are you prepared for the change? Will it be a little bit culture shock for you?
I think it will. I spent about a week ago, I spent about 2.5 hours with Commissioner Taylor Barra, who's the Commissioner of Administration, who was for 4 years the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And he served in local government too. He was assessor over in Iberia, followed his dad's footsteps and took that job over as well. And some of the processes are going to change, right? But government is government. And I understand that, I understand the assignment from the governor, what he wants to see done. I understand kind of the responsibilities and the roles that Commissioner Barra sees for the office. And I went through kind of a breakdown because we are building a brand new state agency from the ground up. So a vision statement, a mission statement, an organizational chart, and then what we expect it to do. And I told Commissioner Barra when I met with him, I said, look, there's a timeline in the back of this. It starts on day 0 and goes to day 230 to get us through to January 1st of 2026. And I said, my goal is that we're fixing roads and we're putting fresh asphalt down before we get to the end of the year, and especially before we get into the next legislative session. Because, look, let's face it, there were 140 legislators that passed this bill through the House and the Senate that expect results from this office as well. So I'm leaving working for 100,000 people to work for a little over 4 million, but a governor and 100 some odd legislatures that expect some results as well. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a little bit of culture shock the first day I get to Baton Rouge. But a lot of time is going to be spent on the road, still dealing with local officials, working through their needs, working with those legislators to what they want to see happen in their districts and their priorities for roads. So look, I think at the end of the day, I'm jumping out of one frying pan into another, but it's going to be a good frying pan nonetheless.
Well, congratulations. When I saw it, there were rumors, there were rumblings around going over, and of course, I had to tell everybody, all right, hold on, we got to get the official press release. And somebody told me at lunch, it's coming at 1 o'clock. Well, I heard it was going to be a press conference. So, of course, it's 12:45, and I'm calling everybody here. Get it on. They got to be streaming it or whatever. And they said, no, they're just putting out the press release. So I relaxed a little bit. I said, we'll get him on later. But that's great for you. I know a lot of people in Lafourche, they were worried about what was happening, but you just explained it perfectly. Mitch will take over. And I'm sure if Mitch has a question, he could pick up the phone, right?
Yeah, look, and again, Martin, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to come back here every night and lay my head on the pillow and continue to serve it. And Martin, I want to say, first and foremost, thank you to you and your team there. Through all the weird things that we've had to deal with, you guys have been a constant in allowing us to come on the show and talk about everything that's happening and get that information out there. We often kind of overlook the local media, but you guys are an integral part of what we do. And I really appreciate everything that you've done for me over the last 5.5 years. And I'm sure we'll still be in touch. Hopefully I'll be like Chairman Dove and get to come back on every now and then and talk about the great things we're doing.
Well, you've been very transparent too, and that's easy for a TV station when we have public officials that are transparent, and we appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you from a different perch, a different look in the background. And thank you for joining us, and good luck on the endeavor, and may God be with you all the way.
Thank you, Martin.
All right, there you have it. The parish president, soon to be in Baton Rouge as the executive director of the Office of Louisiana Highway Construction. And I'm sure we expect and we will see some great things from parish president of Lafourche, who will move into that. I'm looking for the date. I had it written down. I think it's August, right, Jay? August 1st? August 1st, that's the date. Okay. So we'll take a break. We are waiting the parish president of Terrebonne to come talk about some storm-related issues. So we will sign off here for a second and be back with the parish president. If you're watching Facebook and YouTube, it'll be on another post altogether. All right, we'll be back. This segment was brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Feels like home.